Have you ever blurted out a word at the wrong moment and a second later wished you could turn back time? Maybe you made a comment without thinking and ended up regretting it. We have all been through this. The problem is, once the word is out, there is no taking it back. Now think about the power of knowing exactly what to say at the right moment and never putting yourself at a disadvantage again. That is what we are going to talk about today. 6 things a highly intelligent person avoids saying based on Stoic philosophy. Stoicism teaches something simple but hard to put into practice. Your words reveal who you are under pressure. What you say when you are irritated, insecure, or trying to prove yourself reveals far more than any well-rehearsed speech. Learning to avoid certain slip-ups and knowing when to stay silent doesn't just improve your communication, it changes the way people see you. And the best part, by the end of this video, you will have practical ways to apply this in your daily life, at work, in your conversations, and even in the dialogue you have with yourself. From now on, you won't be speaking on autopilot anymore. You will understand the real weight of every word. 1. I know more than you do. Brilliant minds don't brag, they prove it. Have you ever met someone who always seems to want to show they know more? That person who, in every conversation, makes a point of mentioning the college they attended, the last book they read, or the opinion of some expert, just to prove they understand more than everyone else. At first, it even seems interesting, but over time, this attitude pushes people away. Not because knowledge bothers anyone, but because nobody likes to feel belittled. And that is exactly what intellectual vanity does. It pushes people away from you without you even noticing. Stoic philosophy teaches something simple and powerful. True wisdom does not need to be put on display. As Marcus Aurelius said, nature does not boast about what it creates. Just like a deep river runs quietly, those who truly know do not need to prove anything. I remember John, a co-worker of mine. Extremely talented, and he made sure to show it all the time. In meetings, he used technical terms nobody understood, talked about the successful projects he had worked on, and interrupted others to correct unnecessary details. At first, people listened. Then, they started avoiding him. What should have inspired admiration turned into irritation, until one day a seasoned manager pulled him aside and said, without beating around the bush, "John, nobody doubts your intelligence. But the way you keep showing it off is pushing everyone away. It seems like you feel the need to prove something all the time." That hit him like a ton of bricks. For the first time, he realized his need for recognition was, in fact, isolating him. What he thought was his greatest strength was, in reality, what was hurting him the most. Many people fall into this trap. Deep down, we all want to be admired, because admiration makes us feel accepted. But this desire becomes a problem when we try to stand out at the expense of others. You don't grow by pushing anyone down. That's why, before sharing something, ask yourself, am I saying this to contribute or just to be admired? If it's to enrich the conversation, great. If it's just to impress, keep quiet. True knowledge shows itself without effort, and there are 3 ways to demonstrate it without having to put it on display. First, let your work speak for you. If you are good at what you do, others will notice naturally. You don't need to announce it. Second, practice humility. This does not mean putting yourself down. It means allowing people to discover your value over time. Those who show off too much fade away quickly. Third, listen more. When you listen, you learn, you show respect, and you build genuine connections. Silence can be more powerful than 1,000 words. Over time, John learned this lesson. He started talking less about himself and listening more. And something unexpected happened. People began seeking him out, not just for his knowledge, but because they enjoyed his presence. It's funny how it works. When you stop trying to prove how much you know, others see your true value. Someone who masters a subject and can explain it in a simple way without arrogance shows more than intelligence, they show wisdom. Intellectual humility strengthens relationships and keeps the mind open to new learning. After all, those who think they already know everything close the doors to growth. Knowledge is not a trophy, it is a tool. And a tool is meant to build, not to impress. Stoic philosophy reminds us our words reflect who we are. And when we choose humility over vanity, we grow as people and inspire others to grow as well. Because in the end, nobody remembers what you know. They remember how you made them feel. 2. Smart people listen before they judge. Have you ever felt how frustrating it is to be ignored in a conversation? You try to share an idea, but it gets dismissed before you even finish speaking. And over time, you start asking yourself, does what I think really matter? I have been on the other side of this situation, not as the one who was ignored, but as the one who did the ignoring. And it is not a comfortable position to admit. I remember a meeting where a coworker suggested a new approach to improve customer service. Without giving it much thought, I dismissed the idea. To me, it was a waste of time. But soon, I noticed the awkward silence that took over the room. People hesitated, exchanged glances, and nobody wanted to offer any more suggestions. I had killed the conversation with a single sentence. The next day, a coworker pulled me aside. Did you notice how people stopped talking after you dismissed that idea yesterday? That hit me hard. Without meaning to, I had discouraged everyone from contributing. Even worse, I had taught the team to stay quiet around me. The Stoics teach that wisdom does not come from thinking we already know everything, but from being willing to learn. Epictetus, the philosopher born into slavery, wrote, "It is impossible to learn what you think you already know." When we dismiss an opinion without paying attention, we are not just closing doors to new ideas. We are undermining the trust of those around us. And trust, once broken, comes at a steep price to rebuild. After that experience, I changed my attitude. I started listening more, not because I agreed with everything, but because I wanted to understand. The impact was huge. Ideas that seemed useless brought creative solutions. Just giving others the space to speak made all the difference. I learned that respecting an opinion does not mean accepting it without question. It means truly listening to it before deciding whether it makes sense. When you listen to someone, even when you disagree, you show respect. And respect strengthens relationships, encourages good ideas, and opens the door to real contributions. Radio, telephone, the internet, many revolutionary inventions started out as suggestions that seemed irrelevant or that made no sense at the time. Sometimes, the value of an idea is not in the idea itself, but in the conversation it sparks. And whoever silences the conversation kills innovation before it is even born. That is why, the next time someone shares an opinion with you, resist the urge to dismiss it right away. Or worse, to not even listen, already thinking about your reply. Ask questions, dig into the details, try to understand the reasoning behind it. You might be surprised by what you find out. Stoicism also reminds us, ignoring other people's opinions is an act of arrogance. Nobody has all the answers. True wisdom is found in the exchange, not in the monologue. After I changed my approach, the meetings became more productive. I started asking more questions, encouraging even the quietest people to speak up. The result? A more collaborative environment and solutions I never would have come up with on my own. At the end of the day, respecting other people's opinions is not just a gesture of empathy, it is a smart strategy. When we listen to different perspectives, we open the way for new ideas, we strengthen connections, and we create an environment where innovation flourishes. The Stoics knew this. True wisdom is not about always being right. It is about recognizing that each person carries a piece of the truth, and it is from this sum of truths that we all grow. 3. Nothing ever works out for me. Smart people don't complain for no reason, they take action. Imagine someone like Lucas. He complained about everything. If the boss asked him to do something, he grumbled. If the grocery store was crowded, he criticized. Hot weather, cold weather, Monday morning, Friday night, there was always a reason to gripe. At first, his friends tried to understand. Over time, they started avoiding him. Not because they didn't like him, but because being around so much negativity was exhausting. Negativity is contagious, and nobody wants to catch that disease. Until one day, a friend looked him in the eye. "All right, Lucas, and what are you doing to change any of this?" The question kept echoing in his head. Lucas realized he wasn't trying to fix anything. He was just dumping his frustrations on the world and on the people around him. Even worse, every complaint made him feel more powerless. He was digging his own hole and still blaming the shovel. This happens to a lot of people. We complain about traffic, about work, about prices, about the noisy neighbor, about the bills, but we do it without seeking change, just out of habit. And the habit of complaining makes everything feel heavier than it really is. Stoicism teaches something valuable: focus on what you can control. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Complaining without purpose drains your energy, but that doesn't mean every complaint is useless. When used with intention, it can be the first step toward change. The difference is in the purpose. Saying that traffic is bad doesn't solve anything. Complaining about problems at work doesn't either, but bringing a concrete suggestion to your boss does. If something bothers you, ask yourself, what can I do to change this? If there is something to be done, do it. If there isn't, accept it and move on. No drama. Lucas started following this approach. Instead of complaining about work, he suggested improvements. In traffic, instead of cursing, he started learning a new language, downloaded a free app and stuck with it. Little by little, his attitude changed, and the people around him noticed. Empty complaining weakens you. Well-directed dissatisfaction transforms you. Think about it. Complaining about your weight doesn't make you lose pounds. Complaining about not having enough time doesn't organize your routine. Complaining about your paycheck doesn't change your financial life. What changes your life are the actions you choose to take, not the complaints you choose to repeat. Life will always bring challenges, but it will also bring opportunities. Every time you complain without acting, you miss the chance to transform something. Imagine if all the energy spent on whining were channeled into improving your reality. The difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck is in how they react. You can keep complaining about your boss or look for ways to grow professionally. You can complain about your routine or make it more productive. You can complain about the lack of opportunities or create your own. You can complain about prices or look for new sources of income. Complaining without purpose paralyzes you. Acting with intention sets you free. Stoicism teaches us that words and thoughts are powerful tools. Used with wisdom, they build resilience and purpose. Tossed to the wind, they only weaken us. As Epictetus said, the chief task in life is to identify what I can control and what I cannot. Your reaction is always within your control. You choose. You complain about the storm, or you learn to dance in the rain. The choice is yours, and it defines everything. 4. You can count on me. Without ever following through. Smart people don't promise what they can't deliver. Period. The Stoics teach that keeping your word is not a matter of duty, it is a matter of credibility. And every time you promise something and don't follow through, your word loses a little bit of its value, until one day it's worth nothing at all. Think about someone who is always saying they are going to do something but never does. At first, you believe them. Then you realize it's just empty talk, words that mean nothing, with no real commitment behind them. And when that person needs real trust, nobody will be there. That is what happened with Richard, a well-liked, talented professional, but with a dangerous habit. He said yes to everything, just to avoid conflict. A friend asked for help. "You can count on me." The boss suggested an extra project. "No problem." He did this with everyone, friends, family, co-workers. He agreed first and thought about it later, and the promises started piling up. He forgot, cancelled at the last minute, or simply didn't show up. Until one day, he promised his sister he would go to his niece's school performance and scheduled a meeting for the same time. The next day, he got a short but heavy text message. "She kept waiting for you. She asked about you the whole time." That hit him hard. Richard didn't want to disappoint anyone, but by trying to please everyone, he ended up hurting exactly the people who mattered most. That is the danger of being a people pleaser. We say yes without thinking, just to escape the discomfort of a no. And in trying not to let anyone down in the moment, we end up letting everyone down later. The Stoics remind us, our words must line up with our actions. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Agreeing to something just to avoid disappointing someone may seem like a noble gesture. But the real disappointment comes later, when you don't follow through. So, how do you avoid empty promises? First, think before you answer. Before saying yes, whether out of fear or out of excitement, ask yourself, can I really deliver on this? If the answer is no, be honest from the start. One sincere no is worth more than 10 broken yeses. Second, choose quality over quantity. It is better to take on fewer commitments and follow through on them well than to promise too much and fail at all of them. And understand this, saying no doesn't make you the villain of the story. When you say yes to everything, you overload yourself and end up letting others down, and most of all, letting yourself down. The Stoics teach that we should focus on what is within our control, and keeping your life balanced is part of that. After that text from his sister, Richard decided to change. He learned to say no when necessary and yes with intention. Over time, people started trusting him again. He realized a simple truth: respect is not built by saying yes to everything. It is built by following through on what you say. Our words shape our reputation. When we promise something, we are giving our word, and if it's worth nothing, neither are we worth much. Following through on what we promise also strengthens our self-esteem. When we honor our commitments, we feel whole and confident. Those who keep breaking promises live frustrated, feeling like they betray themselves with every careless yes. Commitment to the truth is not just a matter of character, it is an act of self-respect. After all, if even you can't trust your own words, who else will? In the end, avoiding empty promises is not just about keeping your word. It is about acting with integrity, building real connections, and becoming someone people can count on. As the Stoics teach, every word we say shapes not only how others see us, but how we see ourselves. Small commitments honored create a ripple effect of trust, both inside and out. So the next time someone asks you for something, take a deep breath, reflect, and only say yes if you can really follow through. Because in the end, it is not what you promise that defines who you are. It is what you deliver. 5. Smart people take responsibility. They don't pass the blame. Admitting a mistake may feel like handing ammunition to those who want to judge you. It may feel like weakness, but denying a mistake doesn't change the facts. It just makes you a prisoner of it. I remember when I promised to pick up an important document for a friend. He needed it urgently, and I guaranteed I would deliver it. For him, it was essential. a document that could change the course of a serious situation. For me that day, it was just another item on the list. And I made a silly but crucial mistake. I didn't double-check the office hours of the records office. I was sure it stayed open later. I didn't even bother to confirm. When I got there, I found the doors closed and the lights off. I knew what that meant. I had missed the deadline. Instead of owning up, I started making excuses. The records office website was out of date. Traffic was terrible. The employee must have closed up early. I clung to any story that would lift the blame off my shoulders. But the truth was simple and uncomfortable. I didn't check the information before leaving the house, period. The result? My friend missed the deadline, and I realized that denying the mistake didn't change anything. It just made me look less reliable. He was frustrated. I was embarrassed. My attempt to justify myself didn't protect me. It exposed me even more. The Stoics teach that owning up to a mistake doesn't diminish your worth. It strengthens your character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anyone can prove me wrong, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth, and the truth never harms me." That is the key. When you put truth above ego, you grow. When you put ego above truth, you get stuck. Acknowledging a flaw is not weakness, it is courage. It takes maturity to admit that your perception was wrong and that there is room to grow. Now think about it. Who comes across as more credible? Someone who acknowledges a mistake and fixes it, or someone who tries to hide it and makes things worse? Running from responsibility doesn't lighten the load, it makes it heavier. Denying a mistake seems like the easy way out, but it's a trap. With every empty excuse, you feed a cycle of self-deception that gets harder and harder to break. You might even convince yourself it wasn't your fault. Deep down, you know you could have done differently. And what's worse, the people around you notice it too. When you try to cover up a mistake, you create a new problem, keeping the lie going. That wears you out, creates stress, and chips away at your self-esteem from the inside. Owning up to a mistake is not the end of the world. It is a fresh start. Every time you acknowledge a flaw, you open up space to learn and grow. Those who hide their mistakes live trapped by guilt and the fear of being found out. Those who own them earn respect and the lightness to move forward. So how do you change this? Start with self-awareness. When something goes wrong, before blaming others, ask yourself, what was my part in this? What could I have done differently? Then, focus on fixing your actions, not just your words. Apologizing is important. Showing that you have learned is worth a whole lot more. And understand this, owning up to mistakes is a sign of maturity. Nobody trusts someone who never makes mistakes because that person doesn't exist. Respect comes from transparency, from the courage to acknowledge flaws and act to correct them. The truth is, nobody remembers a mistake forever, but the way you handle it can shape your reputation for the rest of your life. If you hide behind excuses, people start to doubt your word. If you face the facts and seek to improve, your credibility grows and your presence becomes stronger. If you lead a team, admitting mistakes creates an environment where nobody is afraid to be honest. If you are a father or mother, your children learn that apologizing and correcting your behavior is natural, not shameful. At the end of the day, avoiding mistakes only stretches out the bad consequences. Owning them opens doors to learning. Making mistakes is part of life. Running from responsibility is part of weakness. Those who want to grow accept reality, learn from their stumbles, and move forward with more wisdom. And, as the Stoics taught, we make mistakes, but we are not our mistakes. What defines us is what we do next. 6. Brilliant minds build in silence. Have you ever noticed that the more we talk about our plans, the less we manage to actually carry them out? It sounds like a contradiction, but it's real and more common than you might think. The desire to be recognized, understood, and encouraged turns into a silent trap. It pulls us away from what truly matters, action. Our brain fools itself easily. When we talk about our goals with enthusiasm, we get approval, compliments, and encouragement. That validation creates a false sense of progress, as if we were closer to achieving the goal just by having expressed the intention. But in practice, nothing has changed. The illusion of progress steals the strength to take action. That is exactly what happened to Ralph. For as long as he could remember, he dreamed of opening his own business. When he finally had a concrete idea, he got so excited that he started telling everyone, close friends, co-workers, even passing acquaintances. At first, it seemed to motivate him even more. People showed interest, asked questions, gave suggestions to improve the project. But over time, something strange started to happen. He began spending more time talking about the plan than actually executing it. And as if that weren't enough, people's questions started to weigh on him. Do you really think there's room in that market for you? What if it doesn't work out? Have you thought about the financial risks? Some of the questions were valid, but instead of helping him build, they did the opposite. He started doubting his own ability. Every doubt from someone else became a chain on his ankles. Ralph felt pressured to have all the answers before he had even started. The initial excitement turned into a burden, and the project never got off the ground. He realized too late, if he had kept the plan to himself and invested his energy in execution instead of in explanations, he would have moved forward much faster. Talking cost him more than he ever imagined. The Stoics teach that we should focus on action, not on the approval of others. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "Speak less about what you intend to do, show it through your actions." In other words, it's not what you say that matters, it's what you do. Real progress happens in silence. It's your accomplishments that speak for you, not your promises. So how do you avoid this trap? If you want to turn your dreams into reality without getting lost in the talk, start by protecting your plans. Would you give your bank password to just anyone? Your future deserves the same protection. Not everyone around you is going to understand or support your goals, and you don't need anyone's approval to move forward. Trade words for actions. Each step taken strengthens your motivation. But talking too much about what you intend to do creates the illusion of progress, when in reality you are standing still in the same place. Understand this. Not everyone is rooting for you. Some people, consciously or not, plant doubts in your mind. The more you expose your plans, the more vulnerable you become to criticism that can quietly chip away at your confidence. Avoid getting trapped by other people's expectations. When you talk too much about a project, you create a public commitment, and that commitment turns into pressure. You start following a path just to avoid disappointing anyone, even when you realize there is a better route. Give yourself the freedom to make mistakes and adjust your course. When you act in silence, you can test ideas, learn from your mistakes, and start over without feeling judged, without having to prove anything to anyone. That is what Ralph did when he realized his own mistake. He stopped talking about his plans and started working on them quietly. He only shared something when he already had real progress, concrete results to show. After months of consistent work, he finally opened his own business. No distractions, no outside pressure, no need to prove anything to anyone. He learned the hard way that the best way to show your potential is to let your accomplishments speak for themselves. And this is where everything ties together. Smart people don't keep quiet out of shyness. They keep quiet out of strategy. They have learned that words spent carelessly come at a high price, in energy, in focus, in respect. Don't brag about what you know. Don't dismiss the person who's talking to you. Don't announce what you haven't done yet. Each of these attitudes seems small, but it is exactly what separates the talkers from the doers. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years ago. True strength is not in proving anything, but in living in such a way that proof becomes unnecessary. Not every idea needs to be said. Not every plan needs to be shared. Not every accomplishment needs an audience. Learning what not to say is, perhaps, the most sophisticated form of intelligence there is. So, before you open your mouth next time, ask yourself the right question. Does this bring me closer to who I want to be, or does it just feed who I want to seem to be? Because at the end of the day, nobody is going to remember what you said. They are going to remember who you were. The doors of the Stoic House are always open. Like, share, and subscribe so you can come back whenever you are in need of silence and wisdom. Thank you for watching.